Hello, I'm Tanatam BOTC channel. I want to do another quick video. I came up with this idea when I took a picture of these, just an idea from this. And technically I did write a script. Here's pretty much the entire thing. But yeah, I wanted to talk about why superhero movies can't quite get important comic book stuff down right. We've seen like the death of Gwen Stacy and as well as stuff, or at least Mary Jane in the first Spider-Man by Sam Raimi, and then stuff like Galactus, his arrival, uh, and the death of Elektra, or over to DC with stuff like the breaking of Batman over, of course, Bane's leg. There's so many of these movies that I think, so it's been talked about too by, of course, Nostalgia Critic as well, but I just thought I wanted to pitch in too because I do have some things to say about the new Doctor Doom and the new Doomsday Avengers a little bit here. But with movies like that, like the Daredevil movie, with immediately the first movie has the important scene of the death of Elektra. And that's just a little too early, where at least we have a Daredevil show, and I don't know if I've watched far enough to say that I've seen the death of Elektra happen in the show, but if it does, it must at least approach the development of that better. As it's a show, there's a longer, lengthier amount of time to get to know these characters better, and to even develop a lot of the villains through them, too. So I feel like that stuff works in show form, though there are examples of movie form working also. And I think the second closest is technically the Breaking of Batman, and while we had Bane ruined in like Batman and Robin, uh, and its new actors playing Batman, we at least had some of the other characters like Alfred and Batman himself played by actors we previously known, as well as characters we got to know from the previous two Batman movies. So The Dark Knight Rises uh, isn't too bad in how it handles the breaking of Batman, but I do wish it was more close and there was more development time close to the Nightfall comic. Hell, I would love, hell, it could technically work with a fourth Christopher Nolan movie if he wanted to. Part of the reason he didn't really go further. And I don't agree with Nostalgia Critic to an extent. I do think there's problems with the script, definitely, with that movie, but like, he had such a hate boner for that movie just from it being like, ooh, it's a sequel to The Dark Knight, one of the best movies. But I never really thought that when I got that movie. I was like, cool, another Batman movie in this universe. He's going to be respectful and not have Heath Ledger's Joker come back. I think that's a good thing. Give us some room for some other villains too, especially since we don't get to see many villains. I actually want to see more villains, even though I do want Heath Ledger's Joker, honestly. Like, who doesn't? He was freaking awesome, but he sadly passed, Heath Ledger. But I would have loved to see us get some more villains in the spotlight, too, and Bane is a great one to do. I think what messed it up was not only were they recycling the same storyline from the first movie, but also they just freaking had to have the surprise villain like it was a freaking Disney movie. I was watching Prince of Persia again with my friend Dave, and they technically pull that kind of surprise villain thing, even though you clearly know it's Ben Kingsley in that movie. But they do kind of let you know early on that he's the villain. Where take Zootopia for example, they frickin' at the very end, it's like, oh, okay, we know who the villain is, but we get so little development thrown at us at once at the freaking very end, pretty much. it's just not enough to develop that character, and that sometimes also translates poorly in some of the movies we get today too. An example that's kind of the opposite is one of my least favorite Marvel movies, Thor: Love and Thunder. The only thing that was good, and ironically he plays Batman, was Gore. Gore was pretty awesome in that movie. I loved Gore in that. While he's not that close to the comic book version, the design wise at least, he is still an interestingly developed character in that movie. Compared to all the other stupid crap and the ridiculous amounts of jokes and stuff going on that I can't take. Thor Ragnarok was so much better at approaching the humor as well as the Guardians movies. It was just ridiculous. But that was an opposite of what I was saying previously. And then there's other situations like the death of Gwen Stacy. They technically get that right, though also wrong because it's not the Green Goblin that we know that killed her. It's the other Green Goblin that comes later to avenge his father. But yeah, it's still not done right, and they also did it. If we were talking about Mary Jane, uh, in the first Spider-Man by Sam Raimi, they immediately try to do that bridge death scene there. Not only does the character not die, and it's the wrong character, but also it's not done that well either. And there's still like just don't do important comic book stuff like that immediately. Like give that development. The only other time I can think of, and this is going to go into Doomsday. So I'll bring up Galactus before I get to this though. But Galactus is another one. The Arrival of Galactus is like one of my favorite comic book um, situations or arrivals of a character. And I love the build up to him in the comics. We at least have a couple of comics building to him, but I think you can still technically do that in a first movie. Um, and once again, I think because they have more focus on him and being the threat, it does work well this time round in this new Fantastic Four. My problem with the new Fantastic Four is that it plays it way too safe. Like what the frick? Why are there characters that are just like I hate the fact that they rush over all the villain characters. They're all like good guys now, like the Mole Man stuff. Of course, they got on time to frickin' get everybody underground to safety. And then there's other situations like why aren't people acting like normal people that they would even today? Like I know it's supposed to be like a future version of the world, but there's no way the characters would act uh, that way where everything's just hokey dory. Look at our world today. There's conflict and such amongst everybody, and especially Twitter. Uh, oh, but it's just something to think about with this kind of stuff, and I didn't like how they portrayed the world in Fantastic Four. It is just really stupid. There's more I can go into that, of course, but they were trying to make up for frickin' Galactus being ruined in as a big fart cloud in frickin' the Rise of Silver Surfer movie. Because he's barely there. We got mostly Silver Surfer and then Doctor Doom again. And it's like, they screwed that up big time because Galactus is like a really cool character. I'm at least glad we finally got to see Galactus in a little bit of fighting with him and that he was somewhat developed well to an extent the in the new movie. Um, but yeah, I still think it was there were problems here and there, and that, once again, it's the first movie for this. And then the next one, which is going to also lead into when I talk about Avengers Doomsday, is Thanos. Thanos is probably one of the most well done, uh, like the arrival of him as well into the Marvel Universe. But they had so many movies, just like a TV show, but with movies, we had so many movies with the characters, even we got to even hear and see Thanos on multiple occasions through some of those movies, whether end credit scene or not. We at least got to see him get some motivation and character from him until he finally arrives. And even then, there's two other Avengers movies by the end of that timeline to flesh him out even more. And they did a really good job building up to him arriving in Infinity War. And the development of all those characters was done really, really expertly for the most part. There's a couple of duds there, here and there, but that's probably to be expected, or just mid movies. But now coming with the arrival of Doctor Doom, which wasn't even the original big bad they were going to have for the series. It was originally going to be Kang the Conqueror, which, in my opinion, Kang the Conqueror is one of my favorite Marvel comics, especially a Avengers villain. I actually love this character. I love his design and everything. He's even got like kind of an Egyptian background. And if you know me, I love researching Egyptian mythology and history, especially during King Tut era. But because the actor was controversial, and you could technically say he had a little development in one of the shows. Was it Loki? I think it was the Loki show. And then the Ant-Man, the third Ant-Man movie, Quantumania, I believe. Though you could also argue there was a frick ton of things going on in that movie, so it was kind of hard to say that there was probably enough development for him. But he was also played by a very controversial dickhead actor at the time. So instead of replacing him, now they're like, oh, the actual big bad is Doctor Doom now, and he's played by a former actor we all beloved, Robert Downey Jr. Um, they should have replaced him. And of course, I gotta say this, but a dumbass like Ben Shapiro thinks it's a good idea to interview him on his show. Frickin' asshat. Frickin' evil bastard. They're both evil bastards if he's just chill with having him on his show. I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon. There seems to be a lot of evil bastards, especially today. But getting off that topic, instead of replacing him with a new actor, that's kind of like if the first Avengers movie didn't go over well with Loki, and thank goodness Tom Hiddleston isn't, that I know of at least, isn't controversial in any way. Imagine if he was, though, back in the day, and then they immediately decided to jump into Thanos and Infinity War. I mean, there's probably be one or two movies before it, of course, but almost immediately after frickin' the first Avengers movie. I mean, we at least got Age of Ultron and Civil War, the bigger, more important movies to come out. But you'd be missing out on so much of that character development. Even though some people think of Age of Ultron mid, I still appreciate it, and it still gives us some characters and much needed character development. Uh, and it also helps to build to that movie eventually. I think there is a problem with the Age of Ultron thinking about it because Ultron is also a big bad that you kind of want to build up, and he is kind of thrown away as just like the next villain. And that, where Loki was at least somewhat developed as a character, both through also after credit scenes and in movies before that, like the Thor movie. So he at least had character development, and he continued to have character development after that, even his own show. which was one of the more popular shows there, and people love Tom Hiddleston, of course. They go gaga over him. But I just don't see, you can see what I'm getting at, but I just don't see Doctor Doom working in the next one, and I feel like it's kind of disgraceful in a way because isn't that like Stan Lee's favorite supervillain? Give him a little bit more leeway. Hell, I don't even think other than at Comic-Con we've really seen Doctor Doom's goddamn face. The last I've seen of Doctor Doom, at least from what I've seen lately, because once again, because, and I'm sure other people are feeling this, the fatigue of these frickin' movies. Uh, the last time I saw Doctor Doom was his back turned to you at the end or end credits of the Fantastic Four movie, one of their firsts. That's all we got of him. We at least got more of Kang. Replace the actor or something. Build up the freaking characters, and now they have to bring back the old characters like Cap America and stuff, which is just gonna ruin. They're gonna ruin them. They're gonna somehow ruin them further than freaking Thor: Love and Thunder could. But god damn, they just need more time and development to that stuff. It's just not enough, in my opinion. I haven't seen Wonder Man and stuff. I'm not a big fan of Wonder Man, but I do want to check it out. From what I've seen, Ben Kingsley is in it, and I know people didn't like Ben Kingsley's Mandarin, how he was approached, but I love Ben Kingsley, and I actually was talking about Prince of Persia recently, and he's in one of my favorite movies, Shutter Island. I love that movie, and of course I've watched Gandhi and such. He's a freaking awesome actor. He's my true Jafar in live action. He's got a cool voice. He's a very memorable actor that has the best performances on screen. And even if he's in a bad movie, he's at least one of the better parts of that bad movie. But yeah, getting back on topic with things. Hell, they even ruined Mandarin too. That's another one. Uh, but whatever. That, I don't know. I don't feel like that was as negatively affected since they at least got other villains down right and other like shared universe stuff like the Spider-Man shared universe when they did that movie after Endgame. Um, that was really done well. But yeah, goddamn, I just don't see Doctor Doom working this time because they don't have that character development with him. And now they have to bring back older characters that they're just potentially going to ruin further. The only interesting aspect I can see of this working is the fact that characters like Thor and Captain America are going to recognize him as Tony Stark. He's probably going to look like, they're probably going to play off of something with the fact that he looks like Tony Stark. They're probably going to be like trying to get him to be a good guy. And I just don't think that's the approach you want to take with this. Uh, I don't know. It's the only thing I can see them doing with this potentially. They recognize him. They're like, wait a minute. I thought Tony Stark died. And it's like, no, this is a different guy. This is Victor Von Doom, not Tony Stark. I know he looks like Tony Stark, but it's a different guy. I just don't really see this working out. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think. Um, and while Stanley loved Doctor Doom, I personally not a big fan of Doctor Doom. I don't know, I found him overrated and kind of boring. I am warming up to the character more as I go back to read the comic books and even some of the newer ones that he's in. Um, I am warming up to his character more than I used to, and I do think he's a good designed character. He is really well designed. There's something just, he does have that kind of thing that I would technically love about his design. Take, for example, G1 Megatron, such a classic design character, or Skeletor uh, from He-Man. I should talk about that movie sometime. But he's such a classic design. Or you could take my favorite villain, frickin' Joker from Batman. Such classic design characters with iconic looks, and is just a really good design, whoever designed them. And Doctor Doom does feel like one of those. He's really well designed, he's freaking classic, and he's simple, but his simplicity comes across in a really powerful way. And once again, this can't go well. I haven't even seen what his design is in the new movies yet. So, how is this gonna work out? How is this freaking gonna work out? We'll just have to see. Even Nostalgia Critic has been talking about it, and I know I've mentioned him a lot. Um, yeah, I don't know about this. I'll give it a chance, but if only, if only. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed or found something interesting from what I said. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you think. Um, yeah, this is just a really strange time to have this stuff. I also think Galactus isn't done with yet. I feel like Galactus is most certainly going to make a return in a later movie, which would be cool to see. I would love to see Galactus return because in that Fantastic Four movie, he didn't even really use a lot of the powers at all that he's known for. Like this guy, as you're seeing on like these covers, he's able to shoot like freaking lasers from his hands and eyes and crap. This guy has some ridiculous powers in the comic books, and he basically showed like none of them in the movie. It was just more of like hell, he's fighting Ultraman in some of the later latest, I should say, Marvel comics, which is really cool. And they just didn't do much. It was more like the Fantastic Four trying to hold back this guy just walking through the city. I think it is to show that Galactus probably underestimated them and is like, "Huh, I'm gonna do this easy. I don't even need to use my powers for you." And it does set up for Galactus being probably potentially more interesting than Doctor Doom for another movie because I feel like Galactus is most certainly gonna return and he's gonna most certainly be like, you know what? I let my guard down the first time. I'm not doing that this time. I'm going full in with my power, bitches. So I feel like that has potential for Galactus being really cool in another later Marvel movie. The fact that he was like, this is gonna be a piece of cake, and because it wasn't, now he's like, okay, now I'm just gonna resort to my powers and go frickin' wailing at these assholes. So there's potential for him being a much more interesting threat than Doctor Doom at this point, in my opinion. If there's any Marvel villain in these universes set up somewhat uh, decently well. But yeah, once again, even Galactus kind of has some problems because they didn't get to do as much as I would like to see. But I do feel like to some extent they did make up for Rise of Silver Surfer. We got to see Galactus. He technically did fight the Fantastic Four and rampage through the city, and it was such a sight to behold finally. Frick, yes. Um, and he's quite an intimidating threat. And it feels like you can have potential for him returning and being even a worse threat for them, and maybe he should be the next Marvel movie, actually, the next Avengers movie, I should say, where it's like Avengers, I don't know, Avengers Galactus or something, the rival of Galactus. I don't know. Hey, actually, aren't these comic books called Doomsday? Kind of. Maybe it is about him returning. I don't know. That does feel weird too for that to be the next movie. Also, if that is the case, um, I'm pretty sure it's Doctor Doom. Look at the colors of what they're using as well as the development of the characters. I'm pretty sure they're not going to do Galactus in that movie. If they do, It's Doctor Doom using Galactus for his own means. So, oh, then again, you know what? Maybe he might do that because if Doctor Doom was at the end of Fantastic Four and he's just arriving to mess with the Fantastic Four, uh, he probably knows all about in that unit since he's probably part of that universe. I'm not sure. He probably knows all about what happened with Galactus. So, I mean, if it was on the news and everything, then he knows. So maybe it is Galactus that he's going to bring back. Did I just guess the entire plot of the freaking. I guess that the older characters are going to return and realize, oh, this evil Victor Von Doom guy kind of looks like our old friend that died. And then there's going to be development with maybe his villainous plan is actually bringing Galactus back. Who knows? And something to do with the baby because the their child had some importance to Galactus in that movie. So that too, and especially since Doctor Doom was interacting with their child last we saw. But yeah, I must. This, I gotta be wrong, okay? I have to be wrong. That can't be the plot. I couldn't have guessed the entire plot, right? Okay, not the entire plot, but you know what I mean. I guess some important stuff that might happen. If it does have Galactus, I will watch it because I'm more looking forward to Galactus returning than I do Doctor Doom. If it's just Doctor Doom, then I'm like, there's no way this can work. There's no freaking way. And even then, I can see the argument of, oh, Doctor Doom is technically not the big bad threat. It's just Galactus again. And you have multiple villains in one movie again, which doesn't always work well for Marvel superhero movies in general, having more than one villain, because then it just feels way too crowded. But I mean, you can technically still have more than one hero as long as it's developed well, kind of like Infinity War and Endgame. But that's developed up to a point through multitude of movies. So, yeah, I think that's all I got to say. I guess this was technically more about Avengers and, I mean, Doomsday, sorry. God, in the end. So, yeah. And plus, this is called If This Be Doomsday. Oh, that's another thing they. I just thought of the examples with the frickin' I hate the Zack Snyder universe. Zack Snyder's just such a pretentious director, and not in a fun or interesting way, like Christopher Nolan, or early Ridley Scott. I don't like a lot of Ridley Scott's later works with like Prometheus and stuff, but I thought Napoleon was all right though. He's got some other all right movies, but yeah, like I hate when pretentiousness is just not like too in your face, and he is definitely one of those pretentious directors I can't stand. Zack Snyder did have some early work that I do like from 300. I even like Watchmen, and I love Guardians of Ga'Hoole, but I think it was like, I don't think Man of Steel is a bad movie. I actually told my friend Dave, to me, Man of Steel is one of the worst 7 out of a 10 movies I've ever watched. It's just such a divisive movie, but I do think it's an alright movie, like a 7 out of 10, but it is a 7 out of 10 movie that does piss me off with some of its elements, that's for sure. And if you like it, that's fine, but god damn, do Zack Snyder fans get freaking annoying and it's just so pretentious themselves. It's almost like they reflect the same personality of their almighty Lord and Savior, Zack Snyder. Frick Zack Snyder. He's somehow worse than Michael Bay, in my opinion. And they're technically on the same scale of awful, in my other opinion. uh, And then people, anybody who comes on here and says, who cares about your opinion? You come to freaking the platform YouTube where it's got so many opinions, and you probably most likely watch people in their videos for opinions to get their take. So don't come whining to me saying, who cares about your opinion? Shut the frick up. Why are you here then? You freaking hypocrite. But anyways, uh, I think that is pretty much it. But I will mention that even DC messed up other things with like the coming of Darkseid. We had to get a freaking director's cut version to get that, and even then, now they're saying there's freaking fans trying to do AI versions of the next Justice League movies. That's not gonna work. That is not gonna go over well either. I think that's gonna go over just as well as Avengers Doomsday, if not worse. Even if it's multiple movies or whatever the frick they're doing, that is not gonna work. That can't work at all. It just sounds stupid and disgusting. And with the way we've seen these fans, uh, how they think and such, I do not think they're gonna have the same kind of uh, thinking process of like good art and how to do character development and storytelling right. If the way they think is what we've seen from them so far, there's no way that could work. If that stuff translates into their AI Justice League films. They even ruined what was the other villain they frickin' or set up that they ruined with those movies? So that ruined Doomsday. That's right, Doomsday himself, the villain Doomsday, not the movie called, you know what I mean, but the villain Doomsday when he set up the death of Superman, which is another important. I actually read those comics for the channel, and there's a multitude of those comics that even span into the Justice League comic books at the time, and so on. And they even did character development after that with the funeral of Superman and stuff. So, and the return of Superman even. So there was a lot of character development going on there and a lot of comic books to set that stuff up. There's a multitude of stuff. And it took a longer time and longer character development and such to get to those points. I'm sorry if you're staring at the same screen this whole time. You're probably bored by that. But I'm ending it. I wanted this to be shorter, but it's actually gone to what looks like 32 minutes, and I'm sorry for that. But I had a lot to say. I had a lot to say on this, and I hope you found it interesting at least. And yeah, I will see you next time, though. I think that's pretty much everything now. I know I say that a lot. But you have an awesome day if you did enjoy or found something interesting from this of the topics talked today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below, and I will see you next time. Bye bye, and I'll be getting back to the typical streams that I do with like gaming and crap like that. Probably some more Witcher or Divinity. I want to get back to Uncharted at some point. That that first Uncharted game was honestly kind of pissing me off though. But whatever. I'll try and get back to it. You have a great day nonetheless. Yeah, that's about it. See ya. Bye, Jimmy's mom. It's a me, Mario. Transform and roll out. Bye bye, everyone.